属于盗窃行为，知不知道？
哎呦哎呦，还盗窃呢？就没这点特质，你把我抓起来吧！你把我抓起来吧你！
People like this take advantage of their seniority and age to make things difficult for others. It's really speechless. You say it's annoying or not, but you can't hit or scold them. Chinese aunts are a special group. They love to worry, love to take advantage of small things, and love to dance on the street. People usually associate aunts with disorder and rude behavior. Today we will talk about the topic of Chinese aunts. Chinese aunts was originally a neutral term, without praise or criticism. But in recent years, due to their bad behavior in street dancing and other occasions, the phrase Chinese aunts has taken on some negative connotations. For example, when they dance on the street, regardless of time and place, they play music loudly, causing great trouble for others. In order to dance, they sometimes compete with others for territory. The selfish and cheap mentality of some Chinese aunts is directly related to the era in which they grew up. Many aunts were born in the 1950s and 1960s, just in time for the Great Famine. They grew up with a lack of resources and developed bad habits of greed and taking more food. In 1966, the Communist Party of China launched the Cultural Revolution, and many young people became Red Guards. Inspired by the slogan, "Revolution is not a crime, rebellion is justified," they were involved in the vigorous national movement and developed a brave and ruthless character. The Red Guards of that time are now older. It can be said that the emergence of the Chinese aunts group is the result of the brainwashing education of the Communist Party of China and a product of the Communist Party's authoritarian system. Their various low-quality behaviors make people shake their heads. A netizen posted a video on the X platform showing a Xi'an woman who saw a roadside stall offering free tastings and ate until she was full before leaving. Male voice: "Auntie, how many pieces did you eat?" Auntie: "I ate quite a few pieces because they were delicious." Male voice: "This is a free tasting. You can only try one piece. How can you keep eating?" Auntie: "I just ate 2 pieces." Male voice: "Is it delicious?" Auntie: "Delicious, delicious. I will buy it." Male: "Then buy it." Male voice: "2. I have packed it for you, 12 yuan per portion." Male: "Scan the code. You can scan it here." Auntie: "I don't have money today. I'll come to buy it tomorrow." Male: "I believe you this time." Auntie: "I keep my word." Male: "Okay, then come tomorrow. Eat these 2 yuan worth, but don't try it again." Some mainland women not only fail to abide by the rules in China, but also act arrogantly and unreasonably overseas. In the early morning of the 6th of this month, on flight SQ826 from Singapore to Shanghai, the plane was already taxiing and preparing to take off when a Chinese female passenger insisted on going to the toilet at that moment. The flight attendant tried to dissuade her, but she was unreasonable, smashing the toilet door, insulting the crew, swearing at the passengers on the plane, and behaving in an overbearing and rude manner. The video circulated online showed that a passenger said to the woman while trying to dissuade her, "I have to go to work tomorrow. You are embarrassing me." The woman actually responded, "It is your own business to go to work tomorrow, so get off the plane now. If you have the money, take a private plane. I have been embarrassing myself for more than just today," and claimed that she was allowed to use the toilet before takeoff when taking a domestic flight. After evaluating the situation, the pilot decided to return to the boarding gate and have the woman and her companions removed from the plane to ensure the safety of other passengers and crew members. Passengers accused her of wasting everyone's time, but she argued that it was the captain who stopped the plane, not her. At the boarding gate, she and her companions were taken off the plane and handed over to the relevant authorities. As a result, the flight was delayed for nearly 2 hours. Mainland netizens criticized the woman's behavior. Does this sister think the plane is hers? She is too willful. There are more and more ferries in China causing trouble. Isn't this the result of the domestic environment? Causing trouble on a plane is really hooliganism, and violators will be kicked off the flight. Some overseas netizens pointed out, many mainland women give people a very arrogant impression, and it is all caused by party culture. China is an ancient country with civilization and etiquette, but since the CCP usurped power, the mountains and rivers have changed color, and morality has declined. Sometimes, the behavior of ants is shocking. A shopping mall in Pingli, Shandong, held an anniversary celebration and made a 10-meter-long cake to share the joy with customers. Unexpectedly, in less than 2 minutes, the cake was snatched by a group of aunts, creating a surprising scene. This was the 11th anniversary celebration, and middle-aged people, the elderly, and children all participated in sharing the 10-meter-long cake. The whole scene was lively, and everyone was happy to celebrate the occasion together. To mark the anniversary, the mall carefully planned a grand celebration. The central square in front of the mall was decorated with brilliant lights, and colorful ribbons and balloons floated in the air, creating a cheerful atmosphere. On the long table was a giant 10-meter-long cake, and customers took out their phones to capture this rare moment. However, as the event began, a group of energetic ants quickly gathered around the cake as if they had been prepared. They held various containers in their hands, and some even took out the fresh keeping boxes and plastic bags they had brought with them. In the stunned eyes of the crowd, the ants moved quickly as if they were participating in some kind of competition. Some grabbed it with their hands, while others directly carried the cake away as if folding a quilt. In less than 2 minutes, the originally exquisite and magnificent cake was divided into pieces. Sometimes you can see ants' indecent behavior on the subway. A video shows that on the subway in Shenyang, Liaoning, an aunt took off her shoes and lay on the seat. A woman couldn't stand the old lady's behavior, so she kicked the old lady's shoes out of the car when she got off the train, saying, "I'll teach you a lesson next time." People take off their shoes on the subway, and the whole car is filled with a stench. I threw her shoes out and kicked them away, making her walk barefoot. Oh, who is so mean? Who took the shoes away? It's over. In the comment section below the video, netizens discussed the incident. Some thought the woman's behavior was fighting against evil. However, many netizens commented that the old lady took off her shoes in public and lay on the seat as if treating the subway like her own living room. This behavior was very indecent and impolite, but the woman's act of kicking the old lady's shoes out of the train was also unacceptable and possibly illegal, as the shoes belonged to the old lady, and she had no right to touch someone else's private property without consent. This old lady also regarded the train as her own home, lying on the seat to sleep and occupying other people's seats. Fortunately, she met a considerate girl who didn't have the heart to wake her up. Let's see what this girl thinks. When I got on the train, I found that my seat was occupied by someone else. Then I saw the dried radish she had made next to her and the unfinished cake. I felt that she had a hard life, so I chose to stand for a few hours until I reached my destination. This lady is a bit outrageous. She complained to the conductor on the high-speed train, saying that she was harassed by an 18-year-old boy, which made the conductor laugh and cry. Let's listen to what the conductor said. "You have to have a basis for your words. I am 60 years old today. I have worked on the train all my life. I have never seen a 64-year-old woman say that a teenage boy molested her. You made me confused and break out in a sweat. You are so humorous. How far away can the child be from you to even touch you? He is honest now. What could he do if he weren't honest? He is across the aisle. Young man, move forward. Uncle will find a place for you. You can't afford to provoke, but you can afford to avoid. If there's no place, I'll get you a sleeper." Arrived safely and smoothly. This is not an uncommon phenomenon, but a familiar one during major sales in China. Before the supermarket even opened, the aunts had gathered, forming a long line. The atmosphere was tense, as if before the start of a war. As soon as the supermarket's sliding doors opened, they rushed in like a swarm of bees, creating a chaotic scene like an expedition. The carts were quickly filled with goods: shrimp, vegetables, meat, fish, rice. No shelf was safe from the aunt's destructive power. Under the rule of communism, a culture of plundering and looting has been promoted and formed by the CCP for the people of mainland China. It is sad and helpless. In China, big sales like November 11th, also known as Singles' Day, are not just regular shopping occasions, but have become national events that attract the participation of millions of people. During these days, supermarkets are no different from real shopping battlefields, where every shelf becomes a target of attack. The scene is truly terrifying in the dry goods section, with people fighting over every bag of discounted rice. The vegetable section is no less chaotic, with carrots and potatoes being grabbed in just a few minutes. One auntie climbed up a high shelf to reach the last item. Not stopping there, some people even plucked pumpkins right off the stall, checking each one to choose the one they liked. The scene is even more chaotic in the fresh food section, with pork, vermicelli, and anything labeled as discounted being swept away without mercy. The aunties sweep like Mongol soldiers, leaving not a single blade of grass on the shelves. The goods arrived with careful preparation, carrying large crates and huge buckets to contain the goods. The people behind could only stare blankly at the empty shelves, while the supermarket staff were confused about how to replenish the goods in time. This was not just a shopping trip. This was a real battle. According to statistics, on November 11th, 2022 alone, Chinese consumers spent more than $84.5 billion, a number that surprised the world. In supermarkets, the number of customers increased by 200 to 300% compared to normal days. Scenes of jostling, pushing, and empty shelves were no longer unusual. But what made the aunties act so decisively? The origin of the phenomenon of aunts in China is related to the historical legacy and social psychology that the Chinese Communist Party has educated the people with for decades. To understand this phenomenon, we need to look deeply into the history and social imprints that their generation has experienced. It is not just a personal story, but also a legacy of a tumultuous era and the profound effects of the planned economy. The generation of Chinese aunties lived through the Great Leap Forward, the famine, and the CCP's Cultural Revolution, where scarcity was a part of daily life. In such a context, supplies were always in short supply, forcing them to develop a particular survival strategy: strike first to gain the upper hand. It wasn't a choice, but an instinct under the CCP's ruling culture. If they didn't act quickly, they could lose access to scarce resources. Competition and struggle became survival skills. These experiences have been deeply ingrained in the mindset of that generation, making the grabbing of resources an instinct that is hard to break, even when the current era brings abundant supplies. Another equally important factor is the herd mentality, which has its roots in the collectivism that the CCP propagates and applies in mainland society, a characteristic deeply ingrained in Chinese culture. When they see others fighting, they ask themselves, if everyone is taking, why can't I? The fear of missing out, combined with the pressure to keep up with the group, pushes them to act without much thought. The crowd-led drive makes the aunties not only join the fight, but also speed up to avoid falling behind. If I don't take it, I'll lose to others. This is the invisible motivation that creates the famous jostling and snatching behavior. Looking back, Chinese aunties are products of an era under the CCP's ruling culture. The historical, cultural, and social imprints have shaped them into strong, fierce people who sometimes behave insensitively in the eyes of outsiders. Aunties fell one after another while scrambling to grab Australian milk powder. Netizens sighed. They risked their lives to grab it. Recently, another incident of Chinese people scrambling for formula milk powder in supermarkets occurred in Australia. During the pushing and shoving, elderly men and women were knocked to the ground without anyone helping them, which frightened the supermarket staff. Seeing that these behaviors could not be stopped, the supermarket quickly moved the milk powder back to the warehouse to avoid more serious accidents. After watching the video recorded at the scene, some Chinese netizens were amazed that these elderly people were snatching milk powder with their lives. Starting on the evening of January 8th, A 10-second video was widely circulated in the circle of Chinese people in Australia. The scene of a group of Chinese people scrambling for milk powder in the supermarket shocked many netizens. From the relevant video uploaded by the netizen Today's Brother, about 20 to 30 Chinese people rushed to the shelves of milk powder in an Australian supermarket and struggled to grab it. Among them were men and women, old and young, all full of fighting spirit. They pushed and shoved, desperately trying to grab the milk powder into their shopping bags or baskets. During this time, an elderly lady in blue clothes was suddenly pushed aside by the crowd and fell to the ground. While crawling up, the elderly lady was busy stuffing the milk powder scattered on the ground into her shopping bag. As the elderly lady was kneeling on the ground and about to get up, another elderly man, who had grabbed the milk powder and was trying to squeeze out of the crowd, stumbled and fell to the ground, knocking the elderly lady in blue clothes over. As a result, both of them fell to the ground and could not get up for a while. At this point, no one in the crowd scrambling for milk powder helped the elderly man and lady on the ground, while the milk powder that fell from the elderly man's hand was snatched away by others. A woman in a khaki jacket in the crowd was quick, squeezing between people and taking one can after another. Meanwhile, more elderly men and women rushed in at a trot. Such a scene scared the supermarket staff. Some staff members went up and shouted multiple times, "Don't run, don't grab." But it was to no avail. Many netizens left comments and complaints under the video. A Chinese person in Sydney exclaimed, "They are really risking their lives to grab milk powder." Some netizens lamented, "They are like this wherever they go. They've been robbing all their lives and can't change." Some questioned, "Are these people really this bad? What if a stampede happens?" One netizen sarcastically said, "They shout patriotism with their mouths, but their bodies are honestly grabbing milk powder from foreigners." Another commented, "People who indulge their parents to grab milk powder in supermarkets for others should feel more ashamed than these elderly people filmed." A whistleblower said the video was filmed at Woolworths in Box Hill, a Chinese district in Melbourne, Australia. It said that the incident happened on Tuesday, and the store had just put the newly arrived goat milk formula on the shelves that day, which was immediately snatched up by a large number of Chinese people. While this video became popular in Chinese circles, it also appeared in major Australian media outlets. The supermarket's spokesperson told media that when staff saw this scene, they quickly moved the milk powder back to the warehouse to avoid accidents and put an end to the buying on behalf of others culture. "The safety of customers and team members is our top priority, and this behavior is obviously unacceptable," the spokesperson said. "We will continue to closely manage inventory flow so that customers can buy formula milk when they need it." It is reported that Chinese people who buy milk powder on behalf of others can earn up to $100,000 a year.